Hi, my name is Debbie Jones, and I want to welcome you to Coping with Crisis, a webinar hosted by the Office of Evangelization Catechesis. Today's topic is very relevant during our COVID-19. While on this webinar, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat dialog. Take this time to toggle and expand your chat button. During this webinar, if you have a question relating to the topic, send the chat to the presenter. She'll take time to answer the questions as part of her presentation. But if you have a technical question, direct your comment to the organizer. Let's begin with prayer. Comfort us, O Lord, for we are like your disciples in the storm-tossed sea. Unsettled by what lies ahead, we turn to you, our healer and guide, to still our hearts in our time of need and hear our prayer. Heal those who are sick with the coronavirus and protect the elderly and most vulnerable. Give strength to all who tend to our health and wisdom to all the researchers who work towards a cure. Open our eyes and hearts as you did during Hurricane Harvey, that we have looked beyond our immediate needs to care for those who need our help. Grant eternal rest to those who have died from the virus. May Mary, our mother, who has heard our pleas in the storm of our lives, intercede to her Son, that we may find healing and a prompt end to this illness. Mary, Star of the Sea, pray for us. Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, heal us. Today's presenter is Carrie Davila. Carrie has worked in various divisions of the Harris County in departments including detention center, placement, court, and field units. She knows a lot about crisis and a lot about stress. She's also a member of St. Simon and Jude Catholic Community in Spring, Texas. Welcome, Carrie. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you, Debbie. I'm honored and humbled to be here with you and with our attendees today. So I do have just a couple of things to say before we get started. A couple disclaimers. So first of all, I'm not a mental health professional, but the suggestions that I'm making, so these suggestions, they don't preclude anyone's responsibility to refer or seek any professional help for the crisis that we're going through. I'm also not a policy or procedure maker for the Archdiocese, and so any of the suggestions that I would make would need to be checked with those who you report to see if it fits within your established protocols. But what I do offer is over 20 years of experience from the agencies wherever I've worked and working with people in crisis, helping people who are living through trauma and training other staff to handle these situations and to utilize these skills. So I hope what I'm going to share today is helpful to everybody. And one last thing is there are probably some things that we'll talk about today that are not new to you, but as always, good reminders of good practices are sometimes needed in times like these, just to remind us all of best practices. So as we go through, I am going to be checking the chat to see if there's any questions or comments or anything that we can discuss. And so from here, we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I do want to remind everyone, especially those who are in ministry, people who are in the role of helping others, is that we do need to focus on self-care whenever we can. So here you can't give what you don't have. You got to keep your buckets full if you're going to be able to give to other people. A lot of times we forget this, even when we're not in crisis. This is a common problem for people in ministry. So no matter how many fires you have to put out, you have to make time to get yourself some rest, eat something healthy, and keep praying. Keep gratitude as part of your life, as part of your daily practice. and to thank God for your gifts and for the opportunity that you have to help others, and then get out of the way and ask the Holy Spirit to guide you in the things that you do and in the ways that you help. It is important to, again, to see to our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So all of these things are related to your resiliency and are needed. You need to keep all of these aspects of your health on point in order to give to other people. So in tune with that as well, oh, I'm trying to switch my slide. Here we go. Right, so you got to be able to get what you need, and so we've got, like I said, you got to eat healthy. You need to take some time for yourself, do the things that fill your buckets, whether it's reading or spending time with your family. There's just a lot of people who are taking on new hobbies and new interests in this time that they're kind of cooped up in the house, which is a good thing. So whatever you can do to keep your mind occupied. And then, of course, your prayer life. This is a really great opportunity that God is giving us to reincorporate prayer into your homes, into your families. It's a wonderful time to be able to do that. And then also just stay connected with people. Your emotional health, our human brains are built to be, in communion and in interaction with people. And so staying connected to other people, even though we can't physically do it, is super important as well. So while we're doing this, then one of the other parts of your mental health here is to set good boundaries. A lot of you all, myself included, we're working from home a whole lot more than we ever have before. I'm actually working in my office one day a week, and then the rest of the time I'm here at the house. So I'm actually in my garage right now with a blanket put up behind me because we had to set up some space for me to work from home. So a lot of you all may be in similar situations, but just because you're at home does not mean that you're always, your home office is not, you're not always on the job, on the clock. You're not always at work. So the reason that on the slide up here I have music is I thought this was a really good analogy for how it is when we work from home. Music, if for those of you who are musicians or who enjoy music, if you're in an orchestra, right, there's a start time and then there's an end time. There's lots of things that go on during the course of you producing this beautiful music. But there's times that you come in and play your part. There's times that your part is quieter and the priority is on other things, other instruments, other voices. And there's a structure to it. It starts and it ends, and there's bars, and there's and then when it ends, and the crowd doesn't get to tell you, oh, hey, you guys got to come out and play some more, or I really liked this one part that you were doing. Can you come at midnight and play this one aria for me? No, when it's done, and the musicians get to go home too. So that's just the analogy I had. So when you are working from home, shut off the computer, turn off tell the people that you're working with. If you are a manager, you can tell people, free to contact me at this time to this time, but after that, I'm going to take time to be at home. And I know that different jobs have different, setups, and there's different expectations, but as much as possible, you do need to set some time away from work so that you're not totally consumed with it. So with that also, there are, when you are working from home or really, managing any crisis, there are certain things that you can control and certain things that you can't control, right? And so what we have to do the most is to focus on the things that we can control and not so much on things that we don't. Oops, sorry, that's not the right slide yet. How to go back. Right, so one of the things as you're at home is to try not to consume all of the news and all of the information that you have available to you at all times. Stay informed, yes, but 10 plus hours of news on this coronavirus is just, it's not going to be good for your mental health. You can't control what's happening in China or Italy or on the cruise ship or in the White House or all those different places. So don't fill your head with it. It's not going to be healthy for you in the long run. There are some things that you can control in this time, and you have more control over those things. So the things you have more control over, that's where you need to focus. when you have control over how you structure your day. It's really important, even if you're not doing exactly the same schedule as you had before, make yourself a schedule, keep yourself some structure in your day. All the discussions that I've seen with mental health professionals say that this is the best thing for all of us, kind of all the time anyway, not just our kids, but it is especially important for your kids too. So making sure that you are, getting up at a certain time during the day, addressing the tasks that you have at hand. And again, being off the clock when it's time to not be at work. And then as you have control over what you work on and how you address your tasks. So prioritizing what really is the most important. Think about who you're doing your tasks for. All the things on your to-do list, why do they need to get done? Is this something that doesn't have to get done right now? And if it's not, then you prioritize the things that are actually most important. A couple of the articles that I've been reading, this is the time they call this is a process shredding time. And so this is something that we're kind of looking at my job too. We have so many processes that have kind of built up over the years that all just have to be done because they're just what we do. And so this is the time that we get to look and say, does this really need to get done? Is this a process we can shred and get out of the way? So if there are processes, things in place that have just kind of been there, like barnacles on a ship, kind of slowing you down, this is the time to look at them and say, can we shed some weight and streamline and make things work better for us in the future? So we'll take a pause real quick to see if there's any, I guess, questions or comments. I don't think there's any questions, so we can move on. Right, so the next thing that I'm going to talk to you about is how we can, this is another thing that we can control. So you can, you can control for the most part, how you respond to someone, how you respond to someone who's coming to you in crisis. So we do have a lot of input into how we make people feel when they come to us for help. And so when someone is escalated or in crisis mode, then the most important thing is to be an active listener. So you be present to people, even when we're at a distance, even if it's over the phone, or if you're able to have, Zoom conferences or that kind of thing with the people that you're managing or the people who you're ministering to. Just be present, let them talk. People are going to come and they're going to have, their stories or their frustrations about what's going on, about how they're feeling, about, all kinds of things that can cause people anxiety in this time. So let them talk. This is not a time to one-up people. So yeah, I'm in my garage working from home. And so if someone's coming to me and they're frustrated about, everything that's going on, it's not the time for me to say, yeah, you know what, you think that's bad. I am stuck out here in my garage. Not the time, to try to one-up. It's really the time to listen and to affirm people's feelings. Wow, that's really frustrating. I can tell it's really difficult for you. And then from there, rather than staying in the feelings and staying right there, that's when we choose our behaviors after that. So the best way to be an active listener and to kind of help people get through the feelings that they're going through is affirm their feelings and then help them choose their behaviors. Okay, yeah, that's got to be so frustrating. What do you think you're going to do about it? Move the feelings into action. And then just as we said before, when you're making a list and you're on a schedule and you're able to tick things off your list, you feel good, right? So when people are able to express their feelings and then feel heard and then be empowered to take some steps to do something, maybe they can't fix their situation, but they can at least recognize, they can make some meaning out of it. They can do something positive with what they're feeling. They'll start to move out of the negative emotions and move into the, I'm going to do something about it and I feel empowered through there. So this, it sounds really easy to say, and it's not always the easiest process, the active listening, because you have to affirm people's feelings, and everyone is having to make choices and prioritizing right now. And not everyone is going to prioritize and feel the same way about all the things that we're experiencing. And so, specifically with all y'all, if there are going to be times when people are not going to prioritize their catechetical development right now, and that can be frustrating because it's what you do. That's your primary, one of your primary functions, and so everyone's working through it in their different ways. And we can't control that either. So not putting added pressure on people or faulting them, just, being available and making yourself available as a representative of the church is the best thing that you can do. And you can, offer your suggestions when you're helping people choose what to do next. So I see a question up here. So the question here is, how do you handle the stress of balancing homeschooling your children while you have to work from home, all the while worried about your job? That's an outstanding question. I'm doing the same thing right now. So the way I've managed it is, again, to me, the schedule really, really helps. So having a plan every day, and everyone is going to face this differently. There are some people for whom just the uncertainty and the change itself is super frustrating, and other people deal with change and uncertainty much better than other people. But again, my number one I guess suggestion for that would be just to have a plan, have a schedule. So like for me, I am getting up much earlier than I normally would for work, so that I can complete at least 2 hours of work before my kids even get up out of bed. And then when they get up and then they're ready, because we have one laptop that we have to share, right? So I do my work from a laptop, and then my son has to go do all his homeschooling online stuff from the same laptop. So having a schedule and making sure that everyone's just doing things when it needs to get done. I'm also not trying to tackle just everything all at once. I'm, keeping a slower pace. Not trying to fit, all of the work that I can, just task prioritization. And the same thing with my kids too. I think I've read a lot of tips about homeschooling. Everyone new to homeschooling, here are a bunch of the tips. One of the best things that I read was that we don't need to feel like we have to fit, 8 hours of school per day for our kids like they were getting when they were in school. For us, we are doing 2 subjects a day, and that's it. So whatever those 2 subjects are, you can focus on those 2 things, and that's it. And I'm not trying to get them on the computer learning for 8 hours a day. It's too much. So that's how we're handling it here at my house. Worries about the job. Yeah, that's, it is. It's very stressful to be not sure how much we can do, how we're all going to get paid to do our jobs every day. And again, this is where that trust in God comes in. And only doing the things that we can control. There's a whole lot of worry out there right now, and trying to step back and making the conscious choice. I will worry about the things that I can control. I will focus I maybe give myself, this is another tip that I've read, give yourself 15 minutes a day to be angry, to be sad, to punch pillows, to do whatever it is that you need to do to vent. Give yourself that. But then after that, you choose to say, okay, now I will prioritize, now I will do the things and think about the things that I can control and give the rest to God. That's all you can do at this point. Right, so we'll go on with that. I think that was the only question we had so far. Right, so this was another interesting tip that I heard. I was listening to a podcast called Catholic Stuff You Should Know. Y'all should really check it out. It's 2 priests that give this podcast weekly, and they're outstanding. But so one of the things that they said was that in this time, this is kind of a message for fellow priests and for pastoral ministers and people who work in a church environment, is that right now people need Jesus, and they don't necessarily need you. And not that you are a problem, but the office of the parochial structure is not necessarily what they're needing. God is asking us to step into a period of longing for him, but he is not gone just because church isn't going on or the parochial structure that we know is altered. And the point that they made is that our church is a Trinitarian structure, not a parochial one. So in any way that we're able to give Jesus to the people is what we can do. Oh, thank you for putting that link up there. It's awesome. The other thing is the point that he made was that there's no expiration date on Jesus. So the last time that you had communion, that you were able to receive the body and blood there's no expiration date. It wasn't just good for a week. And so we still have him in us, and we can hold on to that until the next time we're able to receive him. And again, so this is the other thing that's kind of hot on everyone's minds right now. What if we don't have Easter? What if we just don't do Easter this year? What's going to happen? No, well, so it's not, Easter's coming and Jesus is risen no matter what, even if there's no ceremony at the church. So again, this is the time when we prioritize. What can we do? What parts of this are really important, and what parts are we going to let go right now? And that way we can really focus on doing what we can and doing it well. And then again, being present to other people. Right now, it's really about giving Jesus to people and being Jesus to people, not necessarily all the tasks that we normally do. So, however, with that said, there are some times and some things where it's super important to do what we would have done anyway. There are people, if they're in crisis, if there are emergency situations, if people are coming to you, in danger, and their physical, safety is at risk, then yes, we are still obligated, and we still need to refer people to, call the police if needed. Whatever it is that you normally would have done in an actual emergency situation, we still need to do. There are certain parts of everyone's job, I can't address every single situation, but when they're, so-called non-essential and essential workers, everyone's essential, right? Every person has an essential task. Every job has some kind of thing that's essential, and whatever we can do that's essential that needs to get done, then we should do if we're able to. So, right. The next point that I wanted to make is especially for those of us who are in leadership positions, right? It requires creativity. And so right now, this needs to be your message. You focus on what you're here for, think outside the box, and achieve the goals that we're still here for. This is a good time to check in with your people. Some people are handling this really well, some are not. Some of this is generational, some of it's personalities, adaptability to change, that kind of thing. So just check in with the folks who either report to you or who you help on a daily basis, just to see how they're doing. And when we can, again, I think a lot of you guys are already doing this anyway, changing in-person meetings to Zoom or Skype meetings. Look at all your forms, if there's redundancy, if there's things, this is the time to throw out the notion of this is how it's always been done and do it a different way. And people will feel supported and heard if you're streamlining processes for them. The other thing that I know you guys are probably experiencing is there's a lot of people at home right now with a lot of stuff to think about, and they've got time to call you and ask questions. Maybe you're getting more phone calls than you ever had before. You didn't think anyone was really interested in sacrament prep, but now that's all they have to ask you about. So you are busy, and just be patient. And this is my favorite way of asking someone for their patience, is to thank them for their patience even before they've given it to me. So thank you so much for the patience that you're showing. It really does help in a trying time like this. We're doing our best to get to everybody and to answer everyone's questions. So even before they've been impatient with you, you thank them for your patience, and they tend to be patient for you. Right. So the next point, moving right along, that we'll make here is that, again, so with the sacrament prep, this is a time, and I'm sure a lot of you all have been saying these things too to your folks. People are asking, what about my son's first communion? What about the wedding that I'm supposed to have? All of those things. I don't know exactly how y'all are handling it all, but I do know that this is a time for everyone to reflect on the graces of the sacraments, and maybe more time for a deeper reflection and discernment about your preparedness, and again, to form a deeper longing for the sacraments. And so that's the blessing that we can find in this, when sacraments have to be postponed, or different arrangements have to be made, or the sacrament has to be received without the party. That's an adjustment for a lot of people. And so this is, again, at that time for reflection and discernment. And again, to trust God that His timing is always right, and that the plan He has right now is a good plan. So, right. So the next point to make also, we're all in this social distancing period. Social distance is good, social isolation is not. So this is a time to make sure that we're connecting. So I say see and be seen, even if you're not lonely. There's been a lot of meetings that I've been in where it's supposed to be a video chat, but there's too many people who don't want to put their cameras on because they don't have makeup, or my bedroom is weird looking or whatever. People want to see your face, even if you don't look beautiful, even if your surroundings are not great. See and be seen. You might not be the one who's lonely, but for other people, it's really going to help them to see friendly faces and smiles and hear your voice. So whenever possible, that's the best way we can connect right now. And then I will say something about social media. Again, watch your consumption of social media. There's so much misinformation, so many weird things going around that people are talking about. Just watch your consumption of that, and then don't be the one on social media with all the doom and gloom posts and complaining about how awful the country is, or your employer is, or how awful the schools are. Right? You need to be able to express your emotions and about those things, but social media is just, it's not the place, especially if you're in a position where you're supposed to kind of be a positive, uplifting voice and a representative of the church in your community. Let's try not to be doom and gloom. So this is the kind of the crux of the whole thing when people are in crisis and they come to you, or when they're just, going about their daily lives. So people will often internalize their emotions. If they don't have people to work things out with, they will internalize, and that can lead to depression. A lot of times people will have narrowed vision. They start to really only see how this is affecting me, my life, my difficulties, my stress level, and that narrowed vision can set in when they're in crisis mode. That can also lead people to feel very hopeless and helpless. If they don't, I just don't have anything that I can do. I don't have anything that I can control. It's all hopeless. You feel disassociated. I don't have any help coming from anywhere. You feel distrustful because the people who are supposed to be helping me aren't here, so I can't trust anybody. And then people will start to interpret others' behaviors in negative ways. I've experienced this, just people, just having, I've seen people go to the grocery store with a mask on, and I heard someone say, I can't believe she's wearing a mask. Those are supposed to be for nurses. Well, how did she know she's not a nurse? Why would that even, but just again, it's just a simple behavior, but people are interpreting and putting negative on others out there just because of the whole stressful crisis situation. So the thing that we can do to kind of help with all of this is to help people express, whenever possible, be there to help people express their emotions in a healthy, pro-social way that helps people keep the focus off of themselves and how everything is negative and how I'm being negatively affected. And then see how they can be a part of a community effort. This whole social distancing thing, I think it's great when we can say, look at what we're doing as a community to help each other. And just be, connecting people with sources of positivity and hope, and assisting people in getting their needs met whenever they can. And when people's needs are met, that means that they have more trust in the people who serve them, who are, in charge of meeting those needs. And again, so with when we can replace negative emotions and negative connotations with positivity, then that will help people not get stuck in that crisis mode. So, right. So the last point that I'm going to make here is this is not the new normal. I've been hearing that a whole lot. Oh, I guess this is the new normal, but it's not. This is temporary, right? It will run its course. So the best outcome that we could have out of this in terms of our processes and what we do every day is to take the old normal that we all knew and loved, or maybe the old normal wasn't even all that great, right? So take the best parts of the old normal, take the positive lessons that we learned in crisis mode, take the things that we learned about ourselves. I didn't know that I had this kind of strength, and add that. And what we're going to come up with afterwards is a new, better normal in the face of all of this. And we'll be better prepared for the next time there's a global pandemic. But we'll be better prepared for what comes next, and we'll be able to recognize our strengths and the strengths of others in a better way. So that is, that's my presentation and my message to you all, and I hope that you all found this helpful. And if there's any other questions or any other comments or anything else to discuss, I'm all ears.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I really appreciate your time, and it's a great presentation, a lot of good things to remember. We really appreciate it. I also want to take this time to thank the people behind the scenes, our organizer and our tech person, Juan Carlos Moreno. Thank you very much. Great job. And also want to thank all of you who signed in. Please know that our office is praying for you during this time daily, and that we are open for business. Call us or contact us anytime during the business day. Our phones are forwarded to our cell phones, and we are answering our emails. So God bless everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you. God bless.